Hello and welcome to Reimagine 2021. This is our 11th conference over the past year. I'm super excited to be here right now. We host these events as part of our monthly series, bringing you nothing but the best projects, bright minds, and leaders in the space. We've been fortunate enough to really, invite many talented individuals and teams to come speak with us, providing updates, insights, and all the above that's happening in crypto. I'll be your host today, Adam, from the Mousebelt team, where we focus on early stage investments through our accelerator or providing development support to a growing number of projects, as well as education within our Mousebelt University program. Our main objective and goals are increasing adoption, use cases, and real-world applications. Pretty straightforward. We bring you Reimagine. For all the viewers out there that are trying to get into crypto or are in crypto, you're gonna take away something. So super excited to be here with my next guest, Colin Pape from Presearch. How you doing, Colin?
Hey, Adam, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, welcome back. I think this is your first time during Reimagine. Is that right or no?
I think I did one previous, possibly in the spring, I think it was. Yeah.
Awesome. So you're a repeating guest and now a friend of the show.
That's right.
So, so as you know, Reimagine really just trying to highlight a lot of industry leaders like yourself, talk about projects, what people are working on, right, for the last X amount of years. Some people may think blockchain and crypto is new because they're just coming in from hearing about Bitcoin and altcoins and Ethereum and whatnot. But really, we've all been working on this for a little while. So can you give a quick little backdrop of what you're working on and really how you got into Presearch?
Yeah, so Presearch is building a decentralized search engine. It's powered by the community. It's been around since 2017. We've got about 2.8 million, I believe, registered users doing around 3 to 4 million searches a day. And really kind of the vision for the project is just to provide an alternative to Google and many of the other centralized search engines that are, VC backed. They've got maybe some conflicting interests really behind the actual engine, and trying to really provide the community with something that they can participate in actively. So it has a cryptocurrency called Pre. Rewards you when you search with it. You can also earn it for referring people into the system, as well as providing infrastructure for the project and running Presearch nodes. Got into kind of search through a bit of a weird experience with Google back in 2011, where we just kind of got blacklisted and had to participate in an FTC investigation, and kind of realized just how centralized Google was and how much market power they had, and really thought that there needed to be an alternative that was more transparent and community oriented. And so here we are a few years later.
Awesome. And let's kind of get into this, right? You're working on something cool. I chose this interview to come talk with you and figure out why it's important. We're talking about decentralization. We're talking about digital identities, this transformation. So in the early 90s, the internet's booming. The 2000s up until recently, where this web 2.0, your FANGs, your Facebooks, your Googles, your Netflix, where we are the actual product, right? If something's free, that's kind of the saying, right? That we're actually the end user, we are the product, they're collecting our data. So blockchain comes along and provides this infrastructure. And I want the audience to kind of really grasp it, and you can probably break it down of what we're all used to, and how you're actually trying to flip that business model and flip that model completely into more value going back to the users. But give us a little backdrop on Web 2.0 and a lot of these big players, and like what you guys are doing to kind of change that.
Yeah, so I think really one of the big differences between your traditional big tech platforms and then more blockchain, community-focused, decentralized platforms is it kind of encompasses the entire genesis of the different projects. So if you think about Google, it started off with probably pretty good intentions. In that case, it was like an academic research project, and then some venture capitalists get involved. And so those VCs have an objective to make money for their investment partners. And so when they fund something, they're basically looking right from the beginning with, what is the exit? How are we going to get out of this thing and make money for all of our investment partners? And so generally it's get acquired by somebody else, or figure out how to go public and get into that whole then model of evaluating success, which is based on revenue. And when you start getting into that model, then it becomes really about how to extract as much profit and revenue from all the participants in the ecosystem. So they're running, an advertising auction platform that is trying to get businesses to pay into an advertising system. And one of the things that would help them make more money is to collect as much information as possible from all the people who are searching on the platform. So that's when they get into, all this tracking and profiling and retargeting and following people around the web, and building kind of all these tentacles that will help them collect more data, because that then provides more targeting abilities and more revenue opportunities for them to make money. And so as that happens, the stock goes up, and then all the the founders and the employees and the investors, they get rich. But it really comes at the expense of the people who are doing the searching, having their data be compromised. And then it also comes to some degree from the advertisers, because they're basically, kind of almost ultimately destroying that resource that is there, and ultimately it's not as sustainable as something where, for instance, with a blockchain project, you've got everybody kind of aligned around one value unit. So in our case, it's the Presearch token, PRE, and so the founding team is compensated with pre-tokens. The people who did the initial crowdfunding of the campaign, something similar to like a Kickstarter for a digital product, they all bought Presearch tokens. We then reward people who are doing searching for their attention with Presearch tokens. The advertisers, they also pay in Presearch tokens, but they're actually doing something called keyword staking. So they're not even giving up their Presearch tokens. They're basically locking them to a certain keyword. And so you kind of have everybody aligned around this value unit. So as we get more advertisers, there's more demand for the token and the value increases. That's a good thing for all the people who've been collecting Presearch tokens as users. And at the same time, for the advertisers, you've got these people who are aligned with you. They're viewing you as more of a supporter, a sponsor, than just somebody who's trying to bombard them with offers and trying to basically kind of interrupt their attention. And so you start kind of bringing all these different groups together around one value unit, and you get alignment. And that, I think, is really one of the fundamental differences, as well as just increased transparency. Just about every crypto project has either a Telegram or a Discord channel. You can interact directly with the team, you can contribute, you can make suggestions, and you really kind of get a product that I think is a lot more aligned with the actual user base than one where it's, designed internally. Focus groups maybe are providing you with feedback, but it's not necessarily that direct real-time interaction, and it doesn't have that same degree of accountability. And so to me, it's a huge paradigm shift where users are ending up with products that are more aligned with their values, and they get to actually participate in the ecosystem and benefit just by being a user. You don't have to go out and do something, like buy shares in Google or just kind of have your data be abused.
So no, that's all fascinating. And I think that's all important to really kind of break that down of the purpose, the objectives, and the goals. One thing that that you're taking on is really kind of a big big endeavor. How do you scale something like this, right? Centralized versus decentralization. That's always been a talk, no matter who you talk to, whether it's on the enterprise front, whether it's in DeFi, whether it's in the NFT space, DAOs and all that, which we'll get into soon. But how do you guys tackle that, like for the challenges of scaling Presearch compared to what we're all, compared to the infrastructure now?
Yeah, so we're kind of tackling it by enabling the community to be a part of the project as much as they're willing to be. And so we've got, for instance, on the infrastructure side, something called Presearch nodes. So it's basically software that participates in kind of that search information collection process. And so people can essentially install this software on their computers or on a virtual private server, and they can actually earn Presearch tokens for contributing these resources into the network. So rather than us, building a big data center, for instance, right now we've got more than 45,000 nodes. So if you think about us having a data center with 45,000 servers in it, that would be a major data center. So we've kind of got access to that, but it's being provided by the users and the people that are really actively participating on that infrastructure side. And then from an actual development and a team standpoint, we're building the system to enable people to participate in actually, developing different user interfaces, different data models, and enabling us to not just have this one centralized team that is doing everything, but essentially to build out platforms where other people can, do a pull request on our GitHub and then, create a new, let's say, package, which is what we call them community packages, for any of the different things that they might be interested in and where they might be subject matter experts. So Google has really, built a lot of the kind of, on result page interfaces. So if you do like a currency lookup, or if you look up weather or sports scores, oftentimes you're not leaving Google. You're just kind of getting that result right on the user interface. And so we have an opportunity to do that as well. And so by enabling thousands of users all over the world, where they have domain expertise, they're passionate about something, and they know how to do some development, they can go and basically build one of those interfaces, and then we can pull it into the Presearch results and then end up with more of these types of knowledge panels or on-page results than even Google, and done by people who are maybe sometimes even closer to the problem or the solution where people are looking for that answer. So to us, it's all about empowering the community to participate and then providing them with rewards for contributing.
No, that's great. And I think community, especially in blockchain and crypto, right? I mean, that's kind of a critical component, your growth, your longevity, active participation and membership. And the Reimagine theme of this conference really is around DAOs and NFTs, and we'll touch on some of that. Another question I have, UI UX, we're accustomed to operating one way, what we're the current kind of internet landscape. How have you guys tackled that and addressed that for the end user?
Yeah, so again, I think it just comes down to enabling the community members to really participate in the product development process, and to actually, in real time, don't go down like this really long path and then come out on the other end and, oh, here's our product. It's like you're shipping really early. You're coming up with kind of an alpha product. Hey, here's a concept. Somebody in the community came up with this. We built it. What do you guys think? And then getting that feedback and then iterating from there. So enabling us just to be, closer to the group of people who are actually using the product, and getting that really direct feedback. There's nothing to stop community members from actually, organizing themselves and coming up with, either critical or positive product feedback, and helping to really steer the direction of product development. So it's to me about, doing things that way, and then also just looking at where things are heading, and looking really at the opportunities presented by Web3, and the ability for people to control their information, control access to their stores of value, and giving them tools and interfaces to enable them to take more control. And that's really kind of the audience ultimately that we are targeting with Presearch. People that are not happy with Google's vanilla search results, people who want to be compensated for their attention and their usage and their data. Oftentimes with Presearch, because you can search all these different search engines and have these different interfaces that enable you to access information more quickly, we're targeting really internet power users, people who might be web workers. They might be online 8 hours a day doing different searches and different lookups. And so it's about kind of empowering those power users with tools that they can utilize to be more efficient and more effective. And then also at the same time, not trying to be like a lot of the big tech players who are trying to own it all. And, you are trying to pull everybody into some, moat that you have. It's about collaboration. It's about openness and enabling people to, kind of work across different platforms and tie in with different platforms. So to me, that's, one of the key differences and how that experience is evolving.
And one thing that I find interesting around your use case, or the way that you're leveraging the technology itself, is gaming, NFTs, DeFi, right? We talk about these things and how are we going to get more users understanding into the space? How does Presearch is obviously taking another angle? I mean, like Google, like a search, right? How are you impacting the adoption that's a little bit more relatable, right? We do these things every day. DeFi a little bit complicated, advanced, right? You're your own bank and you got to manage all these things. Your angle. Talk a little bit about that and like how you think you're going to impact further adoption outside of our bubble.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exciting thing to me about search is it is such a kind of average everyday activity. It's not something that you do every once in a blue moon, or it's it's not strictly trading related. It is something that really touches all different aspects of web content. And so for us, it's about just providing different opportunities for all these different audiences, whether, they're gamers or artists, to more easily access the content that is exciting to them and is oftentimes more connected to blockchain. So it might not be your traditional blockchain games or your traditional digital art. It would be, NFTs, or it might be play to earn games. And so I think it's something where people can build a bit of a habit and a routine, because it's something that we all do on a daily basis. And so if you can create a user experience that is fairly similar to what they're used to, and rather than trying to give people this paradigm shift, give them kind of like a wedge that they can start to use to change their behavior away from the centralized big tech platforms, and then start discovering all these different decentralized opportunities. And just do it slowly. So you're starting with kind of search, and then that wedge gets wider until you're using decentralized social media, and you're doing decentralized video hosting, and you're integrating with OpenSea, and which is something that we just actually announced today, and enabling people to find digital art that they might not otherwise be exposed to. And so I think it's a really tremendous opportunity just to become kind of an on-ramp to the whole world of decentralization, and just make an active effort as a project to not just use those traditional platforms that already have traction and are coming from that big tech centralized paradigm, to doing partnerships with these smaller upstarts that don't have the same size community, but they have a really aligned community, and they're aligned with that vision, and enabling them to leverage the platform as much as they possibly can to reach new people.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And to kind of even stay on this topic about adoption, getting this technology into the hands of users, education. Talk about some of the partnerships. You have some major partnerships that you're working with, which is like another extension that people are used to using in their daily lives. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's for us, it's kind of again about bridging kind of the traditional world with this new world that we're all building. And so, today we announced a partnership with OpenSea, and so now it's just an easier way to find information about NFTs. We're working with CoinMarketCap. We're working with a number of decentralized hosting platforms that enable people to run nodes on decentralized hosting infrastructure. And then, on more the traditional side, in September, thanks to there was a European Union ruling against Google a couple of years ago that forced them to add to Android something called the search choice screen, which rather than, you start up Chrome and you automatically get Google as your search engine, they now have to basically display this screen to all European users that enables them to choose a different search engine. And so we're the only blockchain and kind of crypto decentralized search engine that's in this search choice screen. But there's more than 100 million people a year that install Chrome for the first time or reinstall Chrome and kind of see this screen in Europe. So it's a really big opportunity for us to get in front of people who, maybe they're curious and maybe they're looking for alternatives, but they aren't necessarily going to go out and look for them themselves. They'll see it and then they'll add it as their default search engine to their Android device. And then next thing they know, they're searching with Presearch, and then they're discovering all these other decentralized opportunities and partnerships. So that's kind of the bridge that we're excited that we're able to build.
Yeah, and I think one interesting aspect around this technology is that it's really there's different audiences or different user profiles within crypto. It's not just this type of individual, this type of entity. It's actually bringing a community together. It's bringing people from all over the world, right? It's borderless. Everybody, accessibility, right, to this technology, and not only that, the innovation side, that you're providing. So, and I've heard you talk about how robust, how strong your community is, the engagement, participation. I want to get into DAOs a little bit. What are your thoughts around DAOs, and what kind of impact do you feel DAOs have?
Yeah, DAOs are really, I think, absolutely one of the biggest opportunities going forward. When we established Presearch in 2017, we basically put into the white paper that we were starting more centralized, and then over time decentralizing the platform, and that the ultimate kind of expression of governance and management for the platform would be a DAO. And so to me, it's something that just really enables the community to take ownership of something. And when we think about centralized platforms, and we've got the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Jeff Bezos and the Bill Gates of the world, and they end up kind of controlling and hoarding all the value, and they kind of build these really tremendous platforms on the backs of all the users and the people that have adopted them. And in some cases it's resellers and partners, but ultimately those people really don't have much of a voice. And so in this case, I think enabling people to actively participate in key decisions, and really just kind of setting up from the outset the expectation that a project is going to be decentralized if it isn't already right out of the gate. Sometimes it's tough to have just a kind of leadership by committee until a community does form. That's really, I think, kind of one of the keys. But then as the community does form, you're engaging the different people who are really active and passionate within the community, and you're giving them more and more kind of, ability to take responsibility and become leaders, and help to, expand that entire just kind of web of trust, really, so that people who demonstrate that they're aligned with the values of the project and who have something to contribute can start to participate more actively. And then ultimately it's about getting to a point where there are no kind of dependencies with the traditional world. So in a lot of cases, it's banking, it's payments, it's credit cards, it's all these kinds of things that people might need in order to get a project off the ground. And so the really cool thing with decentralized projects is you're taking payment in cryptocurrency. It's a way that you can start to redistribute that crypto out to the people who are contributing. And you can start to over time kind of leave those legacy ties and just become more and more free from that system that is really tightly integrated with big tech, and build kind of a parallel system that people can participate in. And then as it kind of gets to that critical mass point, now you've got something that's actually competitive with big tech, and that hasn't sold out its user base, hasn't kind of taken any of those, poison pills along the way, venture capital or other things that just keep people out of alignment. And by staying in alignment, ultimately people are using a platform that they know that they can count on. And then ultimately, when it becomes a full DAO, it's something that is totally enshrined in the governance model that it's basically impossible for the platform to really kind of go astray from the values and the user base. And I think that's important, because I think a lot of us just feel like we've been sold out. I was a really early Google advocate back in the early 2000s, and a lot of people kind of feel the same way with Facebook, for instance. They've invested a decade or more of their life putting their content in and building a network, and now they find out that, hey, Facebook has values that I don't support, but my content's trapped here, my network is trapped here, I have no way to get it out. And so you're kind of like stuck there, even though you disagree with the values of the platform. And so I think, yeah, it's about just kind of giving people choice, giving people voice, and ultimately giving them a platform that they really just feel aligned with.
And I think what's interesting is that, going back to the content being stuck, right, in these centralized powers, you can't move, and it is what it is, where depending on the DAO, you can work for multiple DAOs, right? So you can pick and choose how you align. You could take on some of these passion projects alongside your traditional work, or you're working for, committed a little bit more in one other DAO. And so your talent, or the talent base, really, you wouldn't see like an Apple engineer at like a Microsoft, engineer. DAOs are going to be able to kind of pick from the litter, or I should say not pick. Individuals are going to be able to choose DAOs and work and apply their talents and skills wherever they want, which is great.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, you just kind of get this, pollination that's happening across different projects, where you've got people that are, in our case, they're really passionate Presearch users, but then they're really passionate users and involved in kind of the community and the DAO within another project. And then they find ways to bring those two projects together, and the communities get this cross-pollination that's happening. And, it often is really around values. And so when people identify, hey, this project has similar values, they've got complementary technology, next thing you know, you've got a partnership that's formed, or some type of integration through APIs or other open technology, and you end up with something that's that much more powerful than whatever you started with. And yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't happen with traditional companies. You've got these non-compete agreements, you've got like actual barriers, deliberate,
even hiring international.
That's right. Exactly. There's geographic borders. I mean, in our case, I mean, we've got people who are really active members from our community from all over the world. And it's cool because it ends up being like a 24/7 project. It's like, I'm on the East Coast. And so, yeah, I've got, X hours, but we've got people that are all over the place. And like, there's always somebody who's, kind of like spearheading the community leadership. And we've got people that are working 24/7. And then, yeah, just these kind of cross community partnerships that end up happening. It's just really powerful. And it's kind of this like, collective success, rising tides lifts all boats, versus kind of the really kind of, competitive, hey, it's, kill or be killed in the traditional world. Right. So I think that this model resonates a lot more with more people.
And talking about starting centralized and kind of ending up decentralized as possible, and we're used to like this top-down approach on the traditional institutions and hierarchy of levels of the chain of command, and then DAOs similar. It's more of a bottom up, right? Like everybody in the community is contributing, and everybody has it's equitable for everybody to kind of give their time and really invest their time and feel confident in a return of some sort, some capacity, whether it's a social token, an NFT. How do you see the division of power playing out, though? You talked about it. You guys are starting off centralized, and I feel that you have to do it that way. Where I remember people complaining in the past, oh, they're not, they're still centralized, but you got to start somewhere. Training wheels, you got to crawl before you walk. And down the path, once things are rolling, then you can kind of get out of the driver's seat. How do you see the division of power playing out amongst a community like a DAO? And then two, we'll answer that first.
Yeah. So I think it's a really good question, and I mean, you do have more of this, hierarchical approach in traditional technology. It's like somebody's got a vision, and then this kind of is how it is, and then like you're approaching everything totally differently. Really, it's you're trying to find like advertising channels on how you can align with people who fit this profile, versus when it's kind of a ground up movement. It is people who are coming in and they're contributing things. Hey, did you think about this? Oh no, we didn't. Yeah, let's try it out and let's see what happens. And so the barriers to participation and to impact are much lower. And I think one of the key differences with this space, and just how I've thought of things in general, and actually I stumbled upon a post that I wrote back, I don't know, it was like 14 years ago, I think, 2007, 2008. And it was about the post title is "The Decline of Money and the Rise of Goodwill." And I think about, really what we have at the core. What is our core kind of asset as a community? And it's the goodwill of our community members. And so we need to, really preserve that goodwill, and we need to build that goodwill. And the way that happens is not by, kind of top down, forcing of different ideas. It's about how do we empower people? How do we enable them to participate? And how do we give them tools that they want to utilize and can find different uses for? And ultimately enable kind of this meritocracy where people who have something to contribute, have some value, are able to actively participate in the community. And really, I can tell you that the way that our project has gone, pretty much everybody in the project, started off as like an active Telegram community member, and then maybe they became an admin, and then from an admin they became maybe a developer, or somebody in business development. Alex, our head of growth, Marco, our former head of community, who just raised the largest $106 million for his project, Merit Circle, over the past week. It's like, you get all these incredible people that just kind of like bubble up because they're passionate about what you're doing. And it's, like, we don't do job descriptions and try to find people. It's like, there's tons of people within our community, and they end up just like identifying, and then we figure out, hey, how can we get them more resources? How can we give them, more ability to affect change? And as that happens, those people just kind of continue to, rise up and then bring other people along with them. And I think it's just, a much more empowering model. And the balance of power is, in the hands of the participants, not just, one single person.
And I think you pretty much answered my second thought to this question about this top down and bottom up and division of power was, we're used to running nodes and validators and governing blockchains. And you kind of just touched on pretty much, you believe that we're going to be able to govern ourselves in these DAOs?
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, it's again, when you're getting started, sometimes it does, sometimes take somebody to make a decision, or you've got somebody who maybe has some type of insight into, the specific problem. But, as it grows and as more people participate, I think it's the only real way to, both to scale and to really, support the needs of the people who are participating in the ecosystem. I don't believe in authoritarianism, and I think that people generally make really good decisions, and they find ways to enable themselves as much they can, and enable others when they're part of something that feels like a community. And so yeah, just giving people more tools to do that is really kind of what's on the roadmap for us. It's kind of get that core search experience. Okay, it's usable. It can be it can work. It's something where we can get a working tokenomics model on the advertising platform, and then as that kind of core thing, hey, it's sustainable. We've got positive token economics, and we've got something that's a sticky user experience that people want to utilize. Now give people more tools so that they can run with that and really start to make it their own. And so yeah, I don't know, it's an exciting time to be involved in any type of endeavor compared to 20 or 30 years ago, when the options were so much more limited. It was almost impossible to do a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. This social scalability, this human coordination, right? To
Mhm.
round up the troops and have a common goal and target that. And so you're optimistic that as members we can execute proposals, processes, pivot, longevity, right? Maintain the vision of that DAO. So do you see DAOs, being a new form of a legal entity, like a new form of business structure, aside from, an alternative to your LLCs and your C corps and S corps one? And then, yeah, how do you see that? You see them doing business, alongside traditional DAO to traditional businesses,
Yeah, I
transactions?
think I think it's definitely a new structure that's viable, and again, it kind of depends on. I mean, traditionally, you would need to register a corporation or something because you would need a bank account, and you would need that bank account in order to pay service providers and vendors and team members. But if you can operate within the cryptocurrency space and have these kind of digital wallets and do digital distribution of value out to different participants within your ecosystem, then your dependency on that kind of legacy model is really diminished. And I think that definitely the future is going to be more of this decentralized legal entity type, because it just makes more sense. You have less ties to that legacy world that is basically really just there to kind of hold people back. And you can see it with man, there are teams that are totally anonymous. And so when you've got stuff like that happening, and it's like fully decentralized trust and full decentralized everything, you can see how that model will work. I mean, the to me, the corporate entity is really just about that tether back into that legacy world. And so, yeah, my hope is that DAOs really proliferate and kind of force change, and provide people with the vehicles that they want and need in order to make the change that they see possible, but in some cases are being restricted by legacy bodies.
And what do you think needs to happen for DAOs to go a little bit more mainstream? Is it infrastructure? You kind of talked about tooling, really for the members, but spinning up a DAO, what really needs to happen for these DAOs to go more mainstream, to everybody that isn't in the crypto bubble?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of a paradigm shift. People don't. I mean, people always have been trying to like force on me. Oh, you're the CEO, and I'm like, I don't, not a CEO. That's not like, to me, how I think of myself, and it's not the role that I want to play, and it's not, to me, a role that's even necessary in the project. But it is kind of this thing that everybody traditionally has thought of. And so I think it's just going to take time for people to think about roles differently. And then, definitely there are some tech stacks that are being developed that are being kind of proven out right now that I think are going to, ultimately just make it really easy to onboard community members into a DAO and enable them to participate. And like I mentioned, Marco with Merit Circle, I mean, they have a DAO, and they did their crowdfunding through something called a liquidity bootstrapping pool. And it's like a totally different model for bringing capital into a project. And so, in their case, a lot of their strength, I mean, they have really good, kind of product market fit, and definitely great, early governance, and also transparency. And so, it's just kind of putting all those different things together and making them really tangible, and just providing people with that easy to understand kind of, genesis story and narrative, and then kind of a platform that supports it.
Yeah, and I think DAOs are going to be a major disruption. I think we operate as DAOs in society. Now
Hmm.
that just the structure, the infrastructure is now going to be laid out where we can leverage decentralized aspects, and we don't have to tap into some, integration with a centralized aspect. Where do you lie on the, do you think the full stack can be decentralized? Do you think certain aspects, some are going to be hybrid? You think there's going to be full stack, decentralization where you're not connected to your AWS, or you have a centralized front end, or your data centralized, which oracles are tackling that. We have Teller as a sponsor that are tackling that. What's your spectrum of like decentralization? Do you think from top to bottom, A through Z, it can be fully decentralized?
I think ultimately it can, and it will be, and in some cases it's going to be forced to be, because you've got pushback from some of these legacy regulatory bodies, or even just big tech censorship campaigns, and it's forcing people to find ways to operate outside of those ecosystems. But yeah, there's, I mean, really interesting platforms that are being developed that enable people just to, yeah, contribute their, computing resources, contribute their capital, and contribute, their code, and have ways to, track their work effort and the product of that work. And as all that comes together, I mean, I can see it already. I can see how, there's definitely going to be really significant big tech challengers that are going to have no tethers to that traditional world. When we kind of started in 2017, some of this stuff wasn't available, and we kind of established in our white paper that we were going to try to use big tech against itself, and leverage it as much as we could in order to get economies of scale, and build the network out to the point, which is basically the approach that we are taking. We've been using centralized cloud computing to host things, but then as we develop things like the Node platform, now we can start to do away with some of that centralized infrastructure, and then just download that responsibility onto the community. And so yeah, I can definitely see how it's going to happen. And it's really exciting times. It really, at that point, sky's the limit, and people's creativity is really going to shine through.
And last question on kind of the infrastructure. 2015 or 2017, things aren't ready. Things are more mature, a little bit more developed. Tooling, documentation, right? And people are tackling some of the cloud centralized available resources at the moment. But I think you're developing on Ethereum. Is that correct?
It is, yeah.
How, with the challenges and the barriers, um, one of the largest ecosystems, right? Right after Bitcoin, and there's a lot of these other layer one chains that are coming out. How confident are you on Ethereum, and how do they meet your needs currently with the capacity, the bandwidth? I know ETH 2.0 is coming out, so what's kind of your holistic view there? Gas fees and all that. How do you guys tackle that? And do you think about other chains?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge currently, and ultimately, we really believe in the Ethereum community. We believe in the leadership, and just kind of the overall vision for the platform, and they've done a great job at scaling to the level that they have. and at adding, real functionality and actually being usable and used. And that is, super important. But yeah, we're running into challenges with, gas fees in particular. We've got, just all the DeFi platforms that have built on top of it. And, when we look at transaction costs, it's totally prohibitive right now. But we're kind of in the, to some degree, like the wait and see camp. Yeah, ETH 2.0 really does provide some really, I think, solid resolutions to some of these issues. And then, looking at some of the layer 2 implementations, we've been looking at, Polygon and others that enable us to kind of, bridge some of the different functionality that we require off of the main chain, and start to get that speed and that low cost transaction benefit that we need in certain circumstances. And so I think that's kind of like our overall approach. We're not looking to, at this point, abandon Ethereum, but there's lots of other really interesting, innovative solutions out there that we want to be able to offer to the community. And I think more than anything, I mean, hey, it's all about decentralization. It kind of kills me, truthfully, when you have these like, Bitcoin maximalists or ETH maximalists, and it's like, man, I thought it was about decentralization, right? And now you want one currency to rule them all. To me, it's about having a multi-chain world where you enable all these different blockchains to bring their communities in, bring some of their innovative tech into different projects, and apply it in different ways, and have as many bridges that you can into these different L1 solutions. So yeah, I think moving forward, Ethereum is going to be kind of the backbone, but ultimately we see lots of integrations with lots of other L1 blockchains, and then L2 as a stopgap.
No, perfect. I mean, I think there's a lot of projects right now that are looking, which chains do we develop on, EVM compatibility, right? L2 solutions, it's all coming together. Wait and see campaign as well, where we lie. And at the moment, there are some challenges, but I think, we're surviving. And, the time will, innovation will pick back up here, and it never stops anyway. So, no, I appreciate kind of your thoughts around the technology, right? And you guys are working on this global scale, so that's kind of my curiosity, right? When projects come in that are tackling some major, very inspirational, like tasks, infrastructure, right? Like, and you answered that, so I appreciate that. And regarding DAOs, right? The ownership economy, giving value back to the community, the user, which is complete opposite of Web 2.0. They're extracting value. I want to move on to our next topic, and we have about a few minutes here. NFTs, right? The NFT boom. I think the DAO boom is coming, but the NFT, we did have an event with Reimagine in spring. Might have been a little premature. Not really, but it's been going on for a while. Crypto kitties for the past, the early days of Ethereum. NFTs is now the creator economy, providing ownership for like IP. I heard this one talk through the conference, IP liquidity. I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting, right? Like extracting, unlocking these values that are stuck everywhere, which is what crypto does anyways. And we talked about adoption. You guys are, your angle's one way, DeFi's, another audience. You're tackling kind of this global scale that we're used to. What's NFT's impact on adoption?
Yeah, I think NFTs are a really interesting technology. I kind of think a lot of the time of digital real estate, and different facets of different online platforms. I mean, it's essentially different real estate components. And so, you've kind of got your initial, digital art type use case. But ultimately it's really kind of title to different assets. And those assets can be virtual digital real estate. And so there's just so many opportunities to integrate NFTs into a platform and provide people with different tools and the ability to take ownership of different, whether it's real estate or whether it's events, and enabling people to really kind of build their social capital by having some type of marker that they're a participant in a group, or that they were attendees at an event. I think that, yeah, there's just so many different applications. We are doing our first NFT. We announced it, was it last week, I guess, or early this week? And it's basically a commemorative NFT for all of our early adopter node operators, people who've been helping us, build out the alpha version of the platform. And those NFTs will be utilized for different opportunities and promotions kind of throughout the life of the project. But it's a really cool way for us to recognize those people, and to have them with a provable asset, and something that is tied to that early participation within a project. So yeah, I think it's really exciting technology, and I think we're just getting started.
Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting with DeFi, uh, has a larger TVL, but NFTs hit the mainstream more. And I
Yep.
feel like it's the evolution of one aspect of NFTs is it's the evolution of, we all follow celebrities and athletes on Instagram, on Facebook. You're really into their life. Like it's really that much closer engagement. And I
Mhm.
feel like NFTs that next level of engagement where now it's public, it's decentralized, it's peer to peer,
Mhm.
and you're actually, as you mentioned, you're giving these out for different promotions, different access passes or whatever the case is, certain benefits and features of these NFTs, which is great. And not only that, the evolution of like this reoccurring revenue, right, in perpetuity, right, like for
Mhm.
artists and collectibles, that's kind of been popular mainstream. How do you see NFTs as well outside of kind of your crypto punks and your bored apes? Do you see it everything being tokenized?
I think ultimately, yeah, I think most things of value will be. And I think, yeah, it is just, it's a different paradigm for creators, and also just, promoters, any type of contributor, really. And there are ways to, with, traditional tokens, reward people, but I think there is something to be said for the specificity that NFTs offer, and really the ability to make more kind of micro decisions, and not have to like take into account the ramifications across an entire token ecosystem. So if currently it's like, oh yeah, let's say it's a revenue share. Okay, you're going to have X revenue share from this transaction, right? And maybe it's something that is ultimately going to have some different impacts across thousands or millions of people that are utilizing a token, and so you have to really consider those decisions, and you have to make them with kind of a lot more thought, and in this case you can come up with things that are maybe just easier to execute. It can be, hey, here's the title for this. It could be for a period of time. It can just be, things that I think kind of further break large things into kind of smaller components that make them more manageable. And I think, yeah, it's just a really interesting technology, and just getting started. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this is nothing. And I know sometimes we can look at, oh, there's billions, or in some cases up to trillions in market caps, and feel like, oh wow, we're so far down the path. But ultimately, we're in the second inning. We're not in the ninth inning at all. And so many interesting things are yet to be uncovered, and I think there's just so many great use cases.
And you brought up digital real estate. Let's talk about the metaverse a little bit. Facebook's coming out with Meta, more centralized. We'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
Um, But regarding the metaverse, do you think how do NFTs, the infrastructure, because we're talking about art, but I feel like NFTs really are the economic infrastructure
Mhm.
for these digital worlds. Where
Yep.
now, and we talked about it early on, where your content is stuck. Now you can move it around, right? And NFTs give that power, that incentive for you to find value in an NFT where it's not tangible, but you're like, you know what? I'm in this metaverse. I can buy, X, Y, and Z. And then I can go, to another metaverse and take that with me. And now I'm transacting all over the place. What are your thoughts around this metaverse that's been talking about, frequently for a little bit now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting subject. Yeah, it's kind of scary thinking about it in the context of Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook ruling the metaverse, and just even the thought of, oh, there's one metaverse is kind of contradictory, right?
Yeah.
It's about all the different universes that are online that people can participate in, and so there really isn't a single universe or metaverse. It's that collective. And I think ultimately what this type of technology and blockchain in general, specifically really decentralized blockchain, and this is something that, I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be just a greater subject over time, is the way that it empowers people to be resistant to arbitrary decisions. So like rolling back a transaction on Ethereum or Bitcoin is like virtually impossible, and that's the real benefit. And so the block explorers and kind of the open, transparent nature of information is super valuable. But ultimately it's about kind of that censorship resistance, and that just real I guess solid ownership of these different assets that then enables you to invest more in things. So if it's a centralized registry of something where something can arbitrarily be changed on you, then you're gonna invest so much. But if it's something where it's virtually impossible for the wool to be, or the rug to be pulled out from under you, then it incentivizes you and empowers you to invest more in developing whatever that asset is. And I think that's really kind of the key to crypto tokens, and I think that really extends over to NFTs. And so just like in kind of the traditional crypto space, I mean, centralized exchanges are one of the choke points, and centralized marketplaces within NFTs, same thing. So ultimately, the more that we have decentralized exchanges and decentralized marketplaces, then we kind of remove those weak links, and we end up with just this really solid and tangible and provable kind of ownership and transfer of ownership based system that empowers people. It's pretty exciting.
No, that's great. And I had another question, and you pretty much answered it. Was in terms of um, who's going to own the metaverse, right? Is it corporations? Maybe that's one world. Maybe you can move out of that into a more decentralized world, a hybrid approach. And you kind of touched on that, like as much decentralized as it can be. You don't have to really worry about those rug pulls and who owns what. You're just confident in the infrastructure, the software, that it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting analogy to me. I was fortunate to go to Burning Man in 2017, and so I would think of the metaverse as like the Burning Man festival, and you've got all these camps all over the place. And so ultimately, if somebody at a camp is not treating the participants well, man, there's 1,000 other camps or more that are right kind of within range, and so people will migrate from one to the other. And whoever's kind of offering that best, most unique experience, and really building those strong relationships, ends up with kind of the neatest community. And I think it's something very similar. And I also think it's similar in the fact that there's just so many different opportunities, and there are so many different potential camps and communities to be built within the greater metaverse. So yeah, really exciting to think about what's going to come over the next few years.
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of scary, at the same time, but you're totally right. I guess, we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. So I think we've kind of gone over time here. It's been a great discussion, Colin. Where can people learn more about Presearch?
Awesome. Yeah. So anybody who's interested can go to presearch.org and run searches. If you want to find information on the project, it's presearch.io. And then our Telegram community is t.me/presearch. And then I personally am on Twitter, twitter.com/Colin Pape.
Fantastic. So I want to thank you for joining. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you've been, previously you were on Reimagine. Now you're a returning guest, so we appreciate that, and I know our audience does. We've talked about NFTs, DAOs, Presearch, Web 2.0, Web 3.0, and just kind of the evolution and what the future looks like leading up to the metaverse. So we hope to have you back, Colin. This is Colin Pape, founder at Presearch. We'll extend another invite, and we look to circle back soon.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Adam.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Reimagine. I'm your host, Adam. Had a great discussion with Colin here, founder at Presearch, and hopefully you're enjoying the conference. Thank you.